Good morning and welcome to the home of the Calgary Unitarians. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your journey of faith or search for meaning, welcome. And it's especially good to see all the costumes this morning. It's a special event. All right. If you are visiting for the first time or the first time in a long time, we're grateful to have you here. We come together in beloved community to grow in wisdom, welcome and deepen relationships, and act for a just and sustainable world. My name is Marcia Epstein. I use the pronouns she and her. And I started coming to this congregation a little over 5 years ago because it was a difficult time and I was looking for a sense of community, and that has certainly been the case here. So I continue to come because it's wonderful to be with a group of people who take social justice issues and environmental issues seriously and actually work on action rather than just talking about those issues. Yeah, we accomplish a lot because we work together. If you're here in person, please stay for our coffee hour later. If you're joining us online, please stay after the service for a virtual coffee hour. Now, wherever we are, let us remember and acknowledge the traditional territories and languages of all whose ancestors were here before us. We recognize our responsibility to be stewards of this land and acknowledge that we do so in cooperation with the people of the Blackfoot Confederacy of Southern Alberta, comprised of the Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai First Nations, as well as the Dene First Nation band, Tsuut'ina, and the Nakota First Nation, also known as Stoney. Alberta's Nakota First Nation is comprised of 3 bands, Bearspaw, Chiniki, and Wesley. Mohkinstsis, the Blackfoot word for what is now known as Calgary, is also home to Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. In offering a land acknowledgement, we honor those who have long been her stewards and accept our shared responsibility for being good caretakers. We acknowledge that Treaty 7, signed September 22nd, 1877, was entered into as a collaboration between settlers and Indigenous people, making us all treaty people.
Good morning, everyone. I'm the Reverend Shelley Thompson under all this. My pronouns are she and her, and I am the interim minister here and the high priestess here at Calgary Unitarians. I'm very happy to see so many members of my coven here today, and all of you who've come from a variety of very clever and interesting places. We have a lot of good stories in this room for Halloween. We're delighted, as always, to have Christian Power with us and Sheila McMaster with us. And we have Sean. We get the special bonus of having Sean with us. When Christian comes, she's going to be playing these fabulous drums. I'm so excited. I kind of want to keep them, so I don't know. Her and the drums, both, right? Now's the time when we get to wave at Zoom, stand up, say hi to Zoom, greet your neighbors, rise in body or spirit, and generally just have a little mini party right here, right now. Hey Zoom, happy Halloween, we love you. Check out our costumes, we're awesome. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. A few reminders this morning. We do have just maybe 2 or 3 spots left at our fabulous fall retreat that's happening on November 19th. So if you haven't signed up yet and you still want to do that, we definitely would love to hear from you. And, it's a room built for 25, but we can always, make room for a couple of extras. So definitely let me know or get right on there on the Sign Up Genius and sign up for that retreat. It's going to be awesome. We are going to carpool. We're going to have a potluck. It's going to be a fabulous day with Leslie Robinson. And that same weekend, the weekend of the 19th, the Canadian Unitarian Council, if you're not able to come to retreat in person, they're having their fabulous regional assembly all about covenant. And I really, really hope we have some folks who are going to be able to be home that day Zooming with the CUC, because it's going to be a wonderful experiential workshop with them on covenant. And I would love to have some representatives from the Calgary Unitarians there, as we're so good at representing when it comes to participating with the CUC. They would love to see us there, and then it would be a great way for you, whoever's able to go to that, to then connect with me, and we can bring that back and report back to the congregation what you've learned and how we can carry forward with these new commitments to covenant and reminders about covenant that we also need, because life is hard and humaning is hard, and we are so committed to being in loving relationship with one another. So that's that weekend. The following weekend, on November the 26th, our search team is hosting us. We're going to get to do something called Beyond Categorical Thinking. And this is led by the Unitarian Universalist Association through the Transitions Office as part of figuring out how to call a new minister, thinking about all the different ways in which our hiring practices can reflect our justice, our equity, our diversity, and our inclusion. If you'll notice, that spells Jedi. We want to be the best Jedi we can be. So we would love everybody to come to Beyond Categorical Thinking with us. I'm really excited about it. Plus, you get to meet one of my besties, Keith Cron, who's just a delightful human being. So that's on November 26th. It's a busy month. And let's see, we have our beloved Jane is still in the hospital after her surgery, and she doesn't even have a window. So we are signing lots of cards for her. I said this, instead of the regular Advent later on this year, we're doing Advent. Jane, we want Jane opening cards all the time until she's able to go home and open the front door and go home. That's the Advent, the coming home of Jane that we're waiting for. So I've got cards out in the lobby, and Mariana Louise and her fabulous talent at making cards. She has some gorgeous ornamental box cards into which we can put little messages. So Mariana Louise is going to have a table for us, and I bought a card box that's pretty so she can start collecting all of these. And we're just going to make sure that any moment that Jane feels she needs a little bit of cheer, there are messages and cards waiting from all of us. So we want everybody to sign every card. Just load them up. And Mariana Louise will show you how to do the little messages, and we'll just keep accumulating those little messages for Jane, and I'm going to get to be the deliverer. She's not able to have visitors, sadly, just because there's so darn many germs in the world, and she's immunocompromised, but she loves and adores you all. I got to see her and Cora on Friday. They miss us, and they wish they could be with us, and they're so grateful to have this cheer and this support from Team Willow. So thank you for that. And it is my privilege now to light our chalice. We light the flaming cauldron of our liberal religious heritage. Today, this time of year, in many places and many cultures, this is a time for honoring the ancestors. And today, as we light our chalice, we honor our liberal religious ancestors, the heretics, the choosers, those who dared to risk their lives for religious belief, religious thought, having freedom to choose, freedom to decide for ourselves. Michael Servetus was one such individual. He wrote a book called The Errors of the Trinity. He challenged the Catholic notion of the Holy Trinity in writing. That was published in 1531, and John Calvin burned him at the stake in 1553 on October 27th. Martin Luther, you may recall, he was the guy who had a list of 95 different reforms for the Catholic Church, just to start with, 95. And it was on October 31st, 1517, that he nailed that particular list of 95 to the door of the church in Wittenberg, Germany. Thanks, Martin. And then Francis David, he was the Unitarian founder of the Unitarian Church in Transylvania and the court theologian to the monarchy there, Queen Isabella, and then her son, King John Sigismund, were Unitarians, and they decreed in 1568 with the Edict of Torda that there were four choices for different religions that could be practiced in Transylvania. This was in contrast to the usual one, where the state said you have to do exactly as we say. So they had Catholic, Lutheran, Calvinist, and Unitarian. It's one of the only countries to ever have Unitarianism as sanctioned by the leaders of the church. Francis David, the people who succeeded Sigismund, unfortunately undid all that good work, reverted to Catholicism, and imprisoned Francis David in 1572, and he died under house arrest in 1579. We remember Norbert Czapek, Unitarian minister from Poland, who started the tradition of our beloved flower communion. He was captured and killed by the Nazis at Dachau in 1942. And we remember Lutheran minister Dietrich Bonhoeffer, tremendous theologian out in the public square, someone we cite frequently as we think of him as a spiritual ancestor in Unitarian Universalism. He sadly also was murdered by the Nazis in 1945. So today, as we celebrate and honor and have a party for all of our diversity, for our ability to have freedom of expression, freedom of belief, we honor all traditions, Wicca, pagan, anything and everything that someone chooses to believe that represents them and their way of understanding the world. We think of these ancestors and we're grateful for all that they've given us. And now if you will please rise, embody your spirit, and join me in singing Monster Mash.
I was working in the lab late one night when my eyes beheld an eerie sight, for my monster from a slab began to rise, and suddenly, to my surprise, he did the monster mash. It was a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash. He did the monster mash. From my laboratory in the castle east to the master bedroom where the vampires feast, the ghouls all came from their humble abodes to get a jolt from my electrodes. They did the monster mash. It was a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash. They did the monster mash. The zombies were having fun. The party had just begun. The guests included Wolfman, Dracula, and his son. Out from his coffin Drag's voice did ring, Seems he was troubled by just one thing. He opened the lid and he shook his fist and said, "Whatever happened to my Transylvania twist?" It's not a monster mash, and it's a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash. It's now the monster mash. Now everything's cool. Jack's a part of the band, and my monster mash is the hit of the land. For you, the living, this mash was meant to. When you get to my door, tell them Boris sent you. Then you can monster mash and do my graveyard smash. You'll catch on in a mass flash. Then you can monster mash. Mash good. Easy, Igor, you impetuous young boy.
What a wonderful, wonderful performance by our choir. Thank you so much. I've got the dance and moves now. So happy Halloween, everyone. Happy Halloween. Woo. I'm Sheila McMaster, Director of Religious Education here at the Calgary Unitarians, and I'm so happy to see everyone this morning. I do have a little bit of housekeeping. Which house rules? Number 1, no broomstick riding in the house. Number 2, if you open a portal, please close it. Number 3, all potion making is to be supervised. And number 4, the only spirits allowed are ones in bottles. And finally, number 5, guests may not be turned into frogs. Please play nice. And so, as you can see, both Reverend Shelley and I are dressed as storybook witches this morning, and some of you in the audience as well, welcome. But we're not actually real witches. I myself hail from the school of Hogwarts of sorcery, and I want to acknowledge that there is a spiritual practice called Wicca that also has witches. And so I have the following excerpts about Wicca from Helen Berger, a resident scholar at Brandeis University. And for myself, I can't help but think of the parallels to Unitarian Universalism. The Wiccan religion differentiates itself from more mainstream religions like Christianity by celebrating a goddess as well as a god. In addition, Wicca lacks a formal institutional structure, such as a church, and puts more emphasis on ritual and direct spiritual experience than belief. Adherents refer to themselves as practitioners, not believers. And for Unitarian Universalists, I think of ourselves as practitioners as well, because we are doers, not just believers. And I think that's what our social justice is all about. And a yearly cycle of rituals known as sabbats celebrate the beginning and height of each of the 4 seasons in the Northern Hemisphere. Each ritual encourages participants to celebrate the changes the seasons bring to nature and reflect on how those changes are mirrored in their own lives. So, for example, at Beltane, which takes place May 1st, at the height of spring, Wiccans celebrate fertility in both the earth and in people's lives. And the rituals are constructed not just to celebrate the season, but to put the participant in direct connection with the divine. And I think a direct connection with the divine is also a Unitarian Universalist principle, that we don't have to go to someone else to connect us with our own spirituality. Wiccans are nonetheless in regular contact, networking on the internet, and congregating at large gatherings to conduct rituals, learn about magic and spiritual practices from one another, and enter what they see as a magical space where they can more readily encounter and embrace the divine, which is what we're doing here. We've all congregated together to learn from one another and create a space where we can connect spiritually. Most Wiccans practice magic, which they believe taps into the spirit world, often referring to as the other world. Others think of magic as drawing on energy field they view as surrounding all of us, which makes me think of our seventh principle, the interdependent web of all life, of which we're all a part, surrounding all of us. So Wiccans do magic to heal themselves and others, or find a new home or job, among other things, and emphasize that magic must not cause harm. Magic is viewed as changing the practitioner as much as their circumstance, encouraging adherents to pursue self-growth and self-empowerment. And other people might use words like prayer or meditation or visualization. Seeking self-growth and empowerment on their journey is definitely a UU principle. And so there is currently an increase in the US. I don't have Canadian statistics, of course, but that there is 1 in 4 have no formal religious affiliation, and they consider themselves spiritual but not religious. As a sociologist, Courtney Bender has noted, many members of this group tend to avoid formal religious structures, but instead participate in occult practices to enhance their self-development. And I would suggest Unitarian Universalism would also be a great option. And so Samhain, it means summer's end in Gaelic, and it's believed to have been the precursor to Halloween. Samhain was first observed by Celtic pagans, marking the Celtic New Year, the end of summer and the end of the harvest season. It also signaled the beginning of winter, which they associated with death. On this day, the Celts believed that the veil between the living and the dead is especially thin. So I have an article here I just want to share by Jeremy Smith. Why do we need Halloween? And I think this is an important question. How are we doing Halloween for church? Because I told my mother, and she said, that's interesting. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to connect Halloween to spirituality, because I think many of you, like me, Halloween is a favorite holiday. Why is this so important? Why is this such a special day? And how is it spiritual? And number one, it's a ritual, and rituals keep us together. Number two, we need candy. A moderate amount of chocolate is actually good for you. Number three, we like a safe, moderate amount of stress. Being a little bit scared can be fun. Number four, we need to pretend. So if something is bothering you, you can control or manipulate it in the world of pretending. And that is a way of developing emotional mastery. So all of you who are in costume today, emotional mastery, absolutely. And number five, death can be fun. So I think we all agree that death sucks. But I also think that we can agree, if we're going to die, we might as well eat a lot of candy before we go. Halloween is one of the many memento mori traditions designed to make death just a little bit more fun. And this has emotional benefits. As Oliver Berkman notes, one study found that walking through a graveyard made 40% of people more likely to help a stranger walking down an ordinary block. Another found that visualizing death can lead us to become more grateful for the things that we have in life. And ultimately, the playfulness of Halloween helps us prepare for the things that are genuinely scary, like climate change. And trick-or-treating is a little light exercise that builds up the emotional strength we need to face our fears. And so now I would like to invite our wonderful storyteller, Kathy Welburn, to come up and share the Celtic folktale of Jack and the origin of the jack-o'-lantern.
Well, a long time ago, of course, across the dark and peat mosses, spooky mosses of Ireland, especially this time of year when it was getting darker earlier, people noticed little lights flickering off and on. And that was a bit disturbing, especially when you were going there to dig some peat moss to bring home for your fire. But they knew who it was. They figured it out. It was that famous guy called Jack, sometimes he's called Lazy Jack, sometimes Tricky Jack, but mostly he was called Stingy Jack. And he had a little lantern that he used to take with him when he went out at night. I used to have a little lantern myself when I was a little girl on the farm. And we ever go out at night with my little lantern, kind of scared. Well, Jack was a very kind of fun guy, I think. Anyway, I might be a little prejudiced because you see he had the gift of the blarney. And they say also that he could, talk the peat right off the moss or the hind leg off a donkey. He did go a bit on and on, but, they were always fun. Everybody liked his stories. And, sometimes when he went to a little village, he realized that people would forget this total tradition, which I think you should now remember, that when you hear a storyteller, you have to take them out for lunch. I mean, we don't do this stuff, for nothing. Sometimes he would be a little worried because people would forget. And so as he left, he would just, take a few things. And after a while, they started calling him Thief Jack. And after time, sometimes they ran after him with, boards and things, which was very disconcerting for the poor man. And one time when he was running around a corner, he almost smacked right into this really bad guy. He was so bad, they used to call him the devil himself. And the devil wanted to take him home. Well, Jack, he was quite a trickster, but he knew that the devil was even more of a trickster. And so he was thinking really fast, and he thought, well, he said, you know what, I'd love to come home with you, but I think if you want to have more people, what you should do, since you're so good at tricks, is turn yourself into a pot of gold. I've got a pot of gold myself. And, then when people come, I can put the coins in all their pockets, and they'd all have to go home with you. Oh, the devil thought, I hope I'm not being tricked here by this guy. But he did. He turned himself into a pot of gold, and so Jack very happily tossed these wonderful gold coins at all the people that were chasing him. But just like my gold coins, I mean, they got shamrocks on them and everything. But whenever I go to pay the groceries, like for some reason, co-op doesn't accept them. I don't know why, but after a while, the people got very upset with Jack. And so they were chasing him everywhere. Jack didn't know what to do. He tried to find the devil and said, my light's going out in my lantern. And he had, over in Ireland, they don't have pumpkins. It was a big turnip that you carved out with lots of eyes on it, so that the devil wouldn't even let him in. He was so mad at him, but he just tossed him a burning ember. One of those kind of burning embers that go on like for eternity. And so Jack was so happy. He had something, and he roamed over those bogs looking for somebody to tell a story to. And unfortunately, as the years and centuries went on, Jack couldn't get too many people to open the door anymore. But, whenever it gets dark like this, Jack's got his lantern, and he's out there roaming around, just waiting to tell you the story. Well, it doesn't do too much harm to listen to a story, but you really should get into a disguise first, because, you don't want him to recognize who you are. Like, I don't want him to recognize me, because what he'll do if he manages to wind himself into your house? He stays for eternity. Like eternity is quite a long time. Although, you could probably hear a lot of good stories that way. But close the door, make sure you have a very, very big pumpkin, and make sure don't have a happy face on it. No, scary face to scare people away. You got to scare them away. Get into your disguise, right? And have some treats there, because you don't want them tricking you like Jack might be there, and his tricks are terrible. So make sure you get ready, and you might see someone coming with the lantern. It could be Jack. You know, he's roaming. To this day, he's roaming out there, and you don't know. So even if he's listening and telling you a wonderful story, don't let him in, okay? Do not let him in. But remember that thing about, after a storyteller, right? Do you remember what you're supposed to do? So, I'm so glad. I look forward to seeing you.
Thank you, Kathy. That was wonderful. And now, since today is a special day, we are being multi-generational, as we like to say. We're not going to spend quite as much time individually lighting candles of care and concern, but we do want to honor this tradition, of course. And on our behalf, I will light a candle for the joys, the celebrations, the good news. Pam and Robert are back, everybody. Did you see? Woo! And a candle for our cares and concerns. We still, of course, are sending so much love to Jane and Cora. And a candle for the world. Oh my goodness, so many reasons to light a candle for the world, both of celebration and concern. We take a moment now to think about together all of the people in your own life, all of your own joys and concerns. We'll take a few moments of silence, and if you wish to whisper or say out loud any of those names into this sanctuary where they will be held in love and kindness, or you wish to keep them in the silent sanctuaries of your hearts, we'll do that now. Jane and Cora.
Margie, do one. Another Jane. There. Maureen Village.
May all beings know peace. And now we'll take the time to celebrate community and honor your financial support that keeps us gathering, keeps us going. We know that there are many ways to give digitally, online, auto transfer, all of these wonderful things. So we appreciate everyone who does that. And we also appreciate every donation we receive here in person in our baskets and our envelopes. It is the generosity of our members that keeps us able to fulfill our mission, to serve together, to love one another, to be a beloved community, and we are truly grateful. And this rounds out the month of October's giving to Action Dignity that honors all those who might otherwise feel disenfranchised or left out in the city of Calgary. Their programming honors worth and dignity and brings people together as well. So this is another opportunity to share generously with Action Dignity. Ushers, please come forward.
1, 2, 3, 4.
you gonna call? If there's something weird and it don't look good, who you gonna call? If you're seeing things running through your head, who you gonna call? An invisible man sleeping in your bed, who you gonna call?
And now we extinguish this chalice, but I invite you to carry the flame of religious freedom with you everywhere you go. And as we descend into the darkness of winter, to remember to keep your heart light lit. Now you're all invited to join us in Wickenden and downstairs. Sheila's going to tell us more.
So some of you may have noticed our Halloween fairies, which was our lovely youth, Leah and Sam. Stand up for a minute. Woo! And they were with me last night till 11 p.m. We were decorating Wickenden and making our haunted hallway, which I have to say is actually really scary. Some of you may or may not know that hallway undecorated is very scary. And so what we'll do is first invite the littlest kids to go through with the lights on. And then we're going to invite the adults to come down with the lights off. Now, if you make it through, you'll be coming up through these doors at the end. So first you'll start downstairs, go down the stairs past Wickenden, and you'll find the signs for the haunted hallway. And then when you come up, it'll be through these doors, and you may see Paula right there, and she has a bowl of treats. We have full-size chocolate bars, or a little Halloween notebook you can choose as your treat to say, I survived. Yes, you will be changed by our haunted hallway. And once you come back up, I have a little frog in my throat. Put it back in my pocket. And when you come back up, we have 3 large tables full of all the spookiest Halloween crafts. So you can make yourself something to take home to decorate your house. I have these great little wooden boards. On one side it says, twinkle, twinkle, little star, but you flip it over, it still has the stars. And you can make a Halloween wreath out of that for your door. You can make pumpkin faces. You can make Halloween masks, anything you wish. And we also have spooky treats like zombie brains that are gluten-free. And other spooktacular things like hot apple cider, all sorts of wonderful things. So please join us. This is intergenerational. Oh, and if you stay, oh, that frog is back. He's very quick. If you stay after our crafts, we also will be playing some Halloween short movies. So some of you might enjoy Charlie Brown and the Pumpkin Patch, or Garfield's Halloween. Oh, yes. So those will be playing as well. And so now I will leave you to line up for our haunted hallway downstairs and have a spooktacular afternoon.
The search team is having a gathering today, and we're going to send them downstairs. Ooh, so after you've gone through the spooky hallway, I think at noon. And I think they're going to try for room 1 down there. If you remember where the puppies were recently, that's room 1. So if you hadn't had a chance yet to talk to our amazing search team, Tell them all about what you think about Calgary Unitarians. Today's another chance to do that in person. So you can go through the hallway first, get your candy first, take that in there, and have a good conversation. Thank you.